when your body is healthy and harmonious, you can be so present. Your brain is so much more alert. You're patient. Your pleasure that you're receiving in the moments are so much more magnetized when you can have that internal harmonious state and peace. But if you work on a diet that is specific for you, which I do the DNA testing for that, and then you're working your fascia system that helps your detox pathways improve, helps all of the communication between your neurons going to the brain, coming back to the body, helping all that mitochondria support for all that energy production, keeping your mobility moving, keeping the inflammation at bay. It's just endless in the possibilities of what it can help with.
Wait, say more about that. High protein.
Okay. High protein consumers spit minerals from their cells. So they have extracellular water and intercellular dehydration, more so than the average person that eats a lot of carbohydrates and so forth. Then overproducers, people that run fast, run hard, are also spitting minerals because that's what the adrenal system does, right? So that's why when people really have adrenal fatigue, they crave salty foods. They want like salsas and marinara sauces and everything. And it's because that's what the mechanics happened with this under the state of stress, even though that stress might be excitement.
True.
Right.
Very true. What's your favorite salt or minerals?
I would say the ancient, the blue bag.
The blue bag? Yeah. Okay. Well, Tyler and I were talking about this earlier, and he was like, isn't sodium bad for you though? I think, can you speak into that? Because I think a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. So sodium, actually sodium's really good for you. The thing is, when you bring in sodium all by itself is where it's bad, because actually we all need minerals in high dosages. But if it's lacking a balance, then it's actually, what does the body have to do to compensate for that? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you put it with all the other minerals, it tells the body exactly what to do with that sodium.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, their problems are just a matter of or mineral deficiencies. I feel like that's the biggest thing,
Yes.
that we're now coming back to, So, but I'm sure you could speak to that more than anybody. I want to take us back. Let's orient, right? I'm really excited to have you because I haven't had anybody really dive deep into these topics. And I think now more than ever, everybody's getting really into the lymphatic system and fascia. But I want to go back to how you got into this world. I know you have your own health journey. Take me back. Where does the passion start?
One day I woke up and I just thought, I cannot live like this anymore. I was 80 pounds overweight. And in that process, I wasn't comparing what I was eating compared to what other people were eating. I was just eating what my parents gave me or my mother gave me, which tend to have been white trash food, a lot of processed foods. And, with a working single mother, she's kind of just giving you as much as she can, right? The hamburger helpers, the mac and cheese, the string beans in a can. And I just started getting my body more and more out of balance. And I was craving for more energy, more confidence, but I really wasn't associating with what was coming in at the end of that fork. And then all of a sudden I caught myself in the mirror one day. In Oregon, you don't walk around naked because you're cold.
Yeah.
So you keep your robe, you take it to the bathroom, get out of the shower, you put your robe on and everything. Well, I'd forgotten it this day. And so I ran back past my hallway of mirror, watching my body jiggle all over. And I was, I don't know, somewhere around 17. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm so plagued with exhaustion and confidence issues. Look, what am I doing to my body? And it was the first moment that I took on, what am I doing? And then I had to have some more reality conversations with myself, realizing that I was doing more things. Every time I was getting more emotional, I was eating more chocolate, more binge eating and stuff like that. And so I took and turned that around immediately. And, during those days, it was like, okay, cut out red meat, cut out butter, cut out fried foods. Well, of course, fried foods is still today, unless it's in beef tallow. But otherwise, scaling back those things is what I did immediately. I went and joined a women's gym, and I kind of pulled myself out. I end up feeling so good after I lost like 20, 30 pounds that I knew right then that my purpose was to take this and give this gift to other women. Because I believe that women are the number one most nurturers, not only of our planet, but also of the men and also of our children, if we're doing a traditional setting. And so I'm thinking, how? I couldn't even be present with myself. How could I be present with children that needed my attention and needed for me to build them into strong humans if I couldn't even be present with myself because of the way I was eating and what it was doing to my brain and what it was doing to my confidence? And I thought, thank you, right? Thank you, God, because it gave me my purpose. And I knew that with women, we have so many different hormonal challenges through the years, right? We get our menstrual cycle, right? And then we get pregnant. And then we've got post-pregnancy. And then we get pregnant again. And then we've got post again. And then we got perimenopause. And then we have menopause, right? So many different changes. It makes it harder for us to control our bodies. And I love putting the pieces of the puzzle together. It is a fascination of mine. I love hard to figure out things. And a lot of people get frustrated by that. I don't. It puts me in that curiosity state. And I'm like, oh, I can't figure that out. That drives me crazy. But it drives me crazy in a fun way because I get to sit in the discovery still of it. And I get to look, okay, what am I missing? What am I having a block to when I'm helping other people? And so I took and transformed my body, my health, got my body back down into a size in a way that was super healthy for me, started doing athletics, and turned into like a triathlete, a marathon runner. But something was still happening where I looked great in clothes. But if you took me out of clothes, I was getting a lot of cellulite and my body was building bulky for a small frame. Once again, what could this be? So then I found out about lymph. And I'm like, oh, my lymph fluid is firm and stagnant. Okay, how can I get that moving? And so about 19 years ago, I started specializing in not only nutrition, but brought in the lymph work. And then after working with the lymph for a number of years, fascia came out. And I'm like, fascia? What is that? That extracellular matrix that we haven't had words for forever, but we've been slicing through that tissue and connective tissue without even having an understanding it. Now they call the fascia system a system because of everything that it controls in the body. And once I was able to implement that from my own body, I started carving up a beautiful build. And I took a body that was kind of glued together and stuck together and made it function well, made it remove the inflammation, got my lymphatic fluids detoxing. And so, it's amazing being able to pair the services that I have chosen to specialize in to really transform a person's health and beauty. And I do believe beauty is important for women. We're that's one of the things we're judged on. And that's okay. Men typically are judged on the size of their wallet, right? If we're being in the traditional sense, right? So it's okay, but it can cause us a lot of stress and pressure. And especially when we don't know how to control it. We don't know how to give it what it's asking for. But if you work on a diet that is specific for you, which I do the DNA testing for that, and then you're working your fascia system that helps your detox pathways improve, helps all of the communication between your neurons going to the brain, coming back to the body, helping all that mitochondria support for all that energy production, keeping your mobility moving, keeping the inflammation at bay. It's just endless in the possibilities of what it can help with. And you think about really working on fundamentals. We're always going to root cause, right? That is what, especially here in Southern California, our healers always are talking about root cause. And you think about all the mechanisms that can be helped. Root cause by eating exactly what should be on the end of your fork, different than my fork, right? And then working the fascia connective tissue system to improve the mitochondria and cellular health, to improve the mobility and the hydration with all of your tissues and cells. And then also to open and release your detox pathways. Right? Brilliant.
Yeah. I really want to dive into like each of those little buckets.
Yes.
Before we start to dive into those, can you let's just orient a little bit more around how they're all connected, right? I think especially like in Southern California, a lot of people eat pretty healthy, right? And we'll get more dialed into that in a second, right? But I think people are less familiar with the lymphatic system and fascia. And so can you kind of just like high level explain how these components work together? Like, can you give me
like a brief summary of the benefits or the
and
purpose of to each?
Like, what is the lymphatic system? Why does this matter? Like, why is nutrition not enough, right? So why are we adding on the layer of the lymphatic system? And then what is fascia and why are we adding on that layer? And I think that will help us like tie it all together because this all does work together importantly. And I'll say, and like, this, like as somebody who dealt with a lot of chronic illness and has all kinds of things in my body, and like, how sticky I am, right? Like, I mean, it's the thing that, I wish somebody had brought up to me 10 years ago. And I think now a lot more people are kind of interested in this, but it's such a big piece of the puzzle that I think we need to be starting with, And so I think that it's huge. So if you could kind of orient me a little bit more deeply into the lymphatic and the fascia, I think that would be helpful.
Our lymphatic is a fluid that runs just underneath our surface of our skin layers. And its sole purpose is to clean. And when it is stagnant, it turns stagnant as a sense of protection for the body because we've got a toxic overload or we're not able to move our body in the way to flush and move it through. And if you think about all the toxins that we encompass in a day by choice and the other ones not by choice, by whatever is on the fabric of this chair that I'm sitting on, right? So some of them we do have the choice in, but there's many things we do not. So the idea is that if that system's primary role is to clean your blood, and so we want to keep that up and moving. Now, when it gets stagnant, it also makes the fascia, which is our connective tissue webbing. And if you thought about fascia like strands of your hair and it had just came down to the bottom and didn't end, but weaved back up into your head and came down and weaved up and came down. And if this was stuck over here, wouldn't it be affecting the mobility and the movement from my hair over here?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the internal web, when we stretch up our arms, we move in any way. That internal web is supposed to be hydrated. It is a web made of collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, and it's meant to provide stability and suspension in our body. That's the number one most important thing it does. So what does that really mean? Stabilizing our joints, especially when they start to get weak or we don't use our biomechanics right. Suspend things from things. Every single muscle strand in our body is wrapped in fascia. Every single nerve, every single tendon and ligament wrapped in fascia. That is continuous system. Weaves in and out of organs. So could you imagine the magnitude of healthy benefit or hindrance if it's not moving right. So the idea is that keeping that internal web, that's a 3D continuous system, mobile and hydrated, which comes from not only minerals and proper negative charged water, but it also comes from movement that helps with the hydration of our tissue. So that is the number one most, that's its number one most purpose. The next thing, it was logged in our journal entries as our communication system because it houses the nerves. So it gives those neurons the ability to provide nutrients where they need to be because of the right communication going. Okay. Then it got logged as our emotional system because, once again, houses the nerves. So now people are talking about trauma release, right? There's so many ways to release trauma. But where it tends to get stored is in our fascia because of the nerves. And so people used to think it was in the organs, right? Anger's in the liver. Well, it's probably just the simple fact that it is the nerves within that organ where it has a propensity to settle. And a lot of times when you're getting this fascia, connective tissue system, moving, you really get a chance to give the body a chance to move through some emotions that are stuck and stored. So, you think about that. And then DNA nutrition. There is so many fad diets. When I used to do a process called metabolic typing, that is where I first started to personalize nutrition for people because not everyone was feeling good from oatmeal for breakfast or eggs for breakfast, right? So I'm like, okay, hold it. There's got to be a reason for that. What could that be? And it really is, how does your cells respond to a sugar or a fat or a protein molecule? And so if you know exactly how your body responds to it, then you know exactly what to feed it. And then when you choose to make choices that don't serve your DNA as your diet choice, you still know how to counterbalance it quickly. So it's a flood of information that you get to utilize to keep your body harmoniously balanced inside. Then personalized nutrition, it also, I got sidetracked. So I used to do a process called metabolic typing. Then DNA came out in 2006. I'm like, what? What? Right? Got to find out about that more. So then I went and talked to a couple labs that were opening. I talked to a woman, JJ Virgin, that she was thinking about doing more DNA testing and got her brain going on that a little bit. 2008, I started running DNA. And every single person that I had run metabolic typing on, which was a questionnaire about your perception about how food made you feel, none of them were the exact metabolism type.
Oh my God.
That the DNA showed. And my first 7 clients were all MDs. Right?
Yeah.
Because when I had my meal delivery service, I got all connected with MDs because they were mostly using my organic meal delivery service years ago. And so, so I'm like, you've got to run your tests with me. I've got to see the variation. Signed them all up. 7, not the same as their perception. And this is people that are healthy, not just because they're MDs. They were healthy, making efforts, right, to eat right, to exercise, and have all the components in place. But none of them were the same metabolism type. So you could take a gorgeous piece of food like a lentil, and that could be toxic for you and perfect for me. You could take a beautiful piece of fish, but if it's a salmon, might not be good for you. If it's a mackerel, might not be good for you. That might be too high fat of a fish for you. So it really can help you break down and streamline your approach to your diet and dial your body in. When your body is healthy and harmonious, you can be so present. Your brain is so much more alert. You're patient. You're pleasure that you're receiving in the moments are so much more magnetized when you can have that internal harmonious state and peace. And then when you want to treat yourself, which we all do, my favorite thing is chips and salsa. And when I want to go and treat myself, I either take my Vasa tallow chips, you know, or I just go in, you know, and I go, okay, what do I need to cut out earlier in the day? And how am I going to rebalance from this trans fat and this corn later today, right? But because I know how I metabolize, I know the strategies that I can work around that.
Yeah, I think this is so interesting because, I mean, there's so many different schools of thought with the diet, but that makes it make sense. It's like, well, this can work for this group of people, but does not work for this group of people. And like, I mean, I'm a big believer of like everything can work, but not for everyone.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because you're always going to find evidence of things doing really well with certain people, but also the total opposite. And like, I know I've learned that about my body too. Like, I think we need to experiment on ourselves, but I'm curious, what did you uncover with your DNA? Like, can you use yourself as an example?
Absolutely.
In terms of your food?
When I was eating DNA, that's when I was starting to bring on more fat in my diet. So
like, so before or once you got your DNA? What were you doing before?
Just before
okay.
I got my DNA.
Yeah.
I started going from a balanced diet to a little bit more fat in my diet. And I did that because I started going through some hormonal changes, which typically your body needs more fat then. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm trying to cut more inflammation because of the endurance exercise I was doing. Well, as soon as I got my DNA back, I realized, ooh, I'm supposed to have about half of the amount of fat. And I'm talking healthy fat.
Yeah.
Olives, olive oil, avocado, right? Salmon, mackerel, all of those delicious things. And then the only other thing that I had to change is I had to scale back more of my fibrous carbs and use my fibrous carbs more from a vegetable source. So I wouldn't be so good like using brown rice and lentils and beans and all that. That molecule size did not work so well for my DNA. But you get a look at like how to squish. We all have good DNA and we all have bad. And it's like, how do I suppress my bad and how do I get my good to express? And so one nice thing is that they start to look at like, now all your inflammation markers. When I first started doing DNA, they didn't really look at inflammation markers. But now they're starting to look at like, how does wheat affect you? How does dairy affect you? But then also like, how healthy is your body at releasing serotonins and dopamine and what might inhibit that? And then how is that affecting your inflammation markers, right? How genetically strong is your metabolic system? Do you have an obesity gene? Do you have like a genetic thyroid deficiency, you know, or propensity to have? And are you sensitive to circadian cycles? And we all think it has to do just with the end of that fork with how our body's responding. But no, if you're super sensitive to circadian cycles and you're sometimes going to bed at 8:30 and other times going to bed at 12:30, your whole system cannot be hormonal balanced. But for other people that don't have sensitivity in that, they can vary it all the time. As long as they're getting their 7 to 8 hours of sleep, their body can acclimate.
Yeah. So does this also go into like exercise? Like
how much cardiovascular what should your heart rate be? How many hours? If you're weight training or when you weight training, should you be doing high reps, low weight, moderate, or low?
Whoa.
How many hours you need at each week? It's brilliant.
Wow. So do you find like to this day that most people who come in to do this with you, like what they think is good for them is totally off from their DNA? Like, do you find it's often totally off or?
Well, this is where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I give them their assessment back, what I do is the lab gives me a 51-page report on you. I take that and I turn that into a comprehensive report. And that's about 14 pages. And I give you both the documents. But when people read, I have them read that comprehensive report before we have our discovery meeting to prepare themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
And I find that they think, oh, I need so many different changes. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But many times it's a small variation. And that's why I have them do a couple of days of vlogging of what a treat day would look like, what a regular discipline day would look like. And that way I can tell them how to tweak those little things based on their DNA. I do find that people need to make about, I'm going to say maybe 30% change.
Okay.
Which that's doable.
Yeah.
The only people that struggle the most is your vegetarians when they're not supposed to be.
Oh, I bet. Is that common?
Yes.
Do you see it the other way too?
Well, no.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why not?
So my two best friends when I first started running DNA, they're both vegetarian, and one of them a vegan, and they were supposed to be. But I think that's been the only person that I've known. And I've ran DNA since '08.
Yeah.
I have ran more DNA than any medical facility that my lab's ever worked with.
Wow.
Okay.
I believe it.
And so I've gone to theirs and done speaking events. I'm like, I'm going to speak in front of all these physicians. They're like, yeah, you've got this. The idea is that people that aren't supposed to be on a rich diet are not drawn to rich foods. They have a more intuitive where they feel like way down, just sitting in my stomach. It's not digesting when they eat a steak, or even if they had salmon, even if they had like a Cobb salad, right, with all the different fats in there. So they don't also have the propensity to overeat because they don't like that feeling. Their body can't handle a lot of rich, heavy. Now, because blood sugar levels get so in flux when people that's supposed to have a moderate or a low amount of carbohydrates, because of the insulin release when they do eat it, puts the body in a state of crave where they think they need it, but it's actually your blood sugar levels just being out of balance. And so they'll crave more and more carbohydrates and more rich. And those people, you will not find a vegetarian ever picking up and eating a rich protein, like a chicken thigh or, salmon or anything like, ooh. Yeah. It's funny. It's just that their natural tendencies tell them. But when you've got blood sugar regulation, which carbohydrates do, it for the other people that are supposed to be limiting their carbs don't always get those clear signals.
So what happens if someone is eating, like I'm sure you've worked with people who are like eating a certain way because of, let's say, their blood sugar, so they've lowered their carbs, or they're going through hormonal issues, so they're eating the way that their naturopath told them to eat. Like, what happens if they're eating a certain way, certain macronutrient ratio, for example, and because of that like health issue, but then their DNA shows that they're supposed to go in a different direction?
Good question. So the idea is that we always have to prioritize, right? And then sometimes if you've gotten your body so far out of balance, then we might have to prioritize how do we quickly get it back in balance to have a safety mechanism for other things in your body. And then we start integrating it. And a lot of people, you don't have to be an all or nothing. You just find out how to strategize and integrate it kind of in the healing modality that you're doing. We get a lot of that when we've got gut biome issues, right? Because a lot of people have to stay away from a lot of food that's going to help their digestive tract live healthy. But because it's so far out of balance, they need to eat a certain controlled diet until they get a better balance, and then they can integrate their whole DNA report with it. But yes, prioritizing.
Okay. What's like the craziest transformation or shift you've seen with this? Because I imagine some people are like really shocked by what they find.
I would say that watching the aha moment and how now they're translating that to watching their kids. So they're like, hold it, now it makes sense. My son's eating like this. My daughter's drawn like this. Oh, and they're putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the transformation, there's been so many as far as like body weight and inflammation. But I think the best one for me is that people, when they're eating right and they're exercising right and they're putting their body into the system that they need, it's the calmness that comes with that for them. Their body, when the body's happy.
Yeah.
And
harmony.
Harmony.
Feels so good.
Oh, amen.
There are a lot of companies that, and we were talking about this before, like do this sort of thing. Like I just feel like random companies on the internet. Like how valid is that? How does that compare to like the report you're pulling?
Well, one thing, I think there's a tremendous amount of good options out there. I'm going to recommend that everyone goes to a lab that doesn't go directly to the consumer.
Okay.
Because any lab that's going to the consumer, they're selling our information to China. And China already has too much on us, you know?
Fair. Yeah.
And I always think it's going to happen in someone else's lifetime, not mine. But how fast they're growing, it's looking like my lifetime.
All right, yeah, let's not energize it. But I hear you. Yeah. Okay, well, I definitely want to do it with you, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, and so like one of the things too, like, you know, when you're assessing, like people, they can look at like talk to different people, like what is their lab showing?
Yeah.
And you know, I choose labs that try to test the biggest tested genes for every single one, and people that are growing what they're testing. Like my lab keeps improving every year.
Yeah.
Right. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're finding out so many things for sure. Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm going to do it with you, and then we're going to uncover it.
I love it.
I love to experiment. Yeah. So, and I love that you're a detective. I'm like that too.
Yeah.
So
well, you had to be.
Yeah, had to be. But I think like along those lines, you know, it's like there's nutrition, which is like the base. But I do think the lymphatic system is a huge missing piece for people. So let's start like going into the lymphatic system.
Okay.
How does okay, let's talk about inflammation and like weight. Because I think a lot of people, the weight they're trying to lose is like sluggish lymph and like inflammation.
Agreed.
How do you know the difference for people at home?
They're not.
Okay.
The average person's not going to know that.
Okay.
If you have some understanding of what inflammation feels like, which feels like you're getting blown up like a balloon from the inside. But a lot of people don't know that. And so they're sitting there thinking, you know, they've been living with that for so long, they might not even have the distinction. But if you get an acute state of inflammation, you do notice it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that chronic, right? So a lot of people they've got the chronic state, and it might be from birth.
Yeah.
Because they're growing up and they've been conditioned to eat a certain way, and who knows if that's right for them. And then we weren't taught in the United States about working our lymphatic system. But if you go to like Brazil or like Sweden, you'll find lymph treatments in all of the hotels.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's as common as a massage or a facial.
Yeah.
But the idea is that if you feel like your movement or your mobility is inhibited, or you feel like there is pressure, almost like your fat is firm, is a good way to know that you're systemically inflamed and your lymphatic fluids are sluggish and gelatinous.
Yeah.
But here's where fascia gets tricky with this. A lot of people want to come to me just for lymph, and which is fine if they're spongier tissue. But if you've got any kind of firmness to your tissue, and you've got a fascia netting that's pushing down on your lymph fluid, and I just work lymph, can it really get it going? I'm going to say it can get it going. Is it going to stall quickly? Yes. Now, so we've got the fascia webbing tight inflamed, knotted, and pressing down on the lymph juices. Then those lymph juices are pressing on the deeper layers of fascia and the visceral fascia, making it stickier, more glued together. Fascia strands, like I said, should be like our hair, gliding, and then having that interstitial fluids moving. So if you've got the stagnant lymph, it's pressing on the fascia. If you've got dehydrated fascia, it's pressing on the lymph. They work synergistically.
Yeah.
And when I went for training, for the fascia training, certification in that, she's like, oh, I see that you've added lymph work. And I go, no, I've added fascia work to my lymph work. And if we're not working both systems together, we're doing really a disjustice. Thing is, if you've got toxins, got to get it out of your body, you've got to work the lymph. And then if your fascia is tight, if you've got so much inflammation that it's plugging and not allowing for that fluid to move, you've got to work the fascia with it. There is certain tissue type. You'll see tissue when you'll see someone walking down the road with shorts on, right? And they're almost like their tissue looks balloony with dents in it.
Yeah.
It looks like puffy, like spongy, right? That person can probably get away with working just lymph and it helping the fascia network. But for the rest of us that don't have that gummy bear kind of tissue, right, which is like tissue that's got too much space in it, it's not webbed tight enough, does it have a chance to move that fluid from just the lymph moving?
So it goes hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
But what I'm picking up from what you're saying is that if anybody's trying to remove toxins, like if you're doing an internal protocol with someone, you probably need to be working these to get it out. Right?
I mean, that's why when you think about people with Lyme disease, mold toxicity, spike protein issues, I mean, a lot of my database is cellulite.
Yeah.
Body sculpting, cellulite. But you're talking about like these deeper rooted issues that need deep cleansing of the blood, of the lymph, everything. And if you could go in and get that lymph fluid moving and then rough up that fascia so that all of the toxins are out in circulation, when you're doing any kind of IV or blood cleansing treatment, you have got such more capacity to pull out toxins at a high level, right? But if you're home and you don't have access and you don't want to pay the price for some of these higher, you can work your lymph and your fascia system from the privacy of your own home 100 times in a day. And some of it could just be from toe bouncing, skin brushing, there's certain ways, simple ways to help it.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I mean, for me, I had done different things for like my illnesses for a long time. And then it wasn't until, I had moved to San Diego and then lymph was coming up and I started just getting different treatments and like immediately everything started changing. And I was like, where was this? I was doing so much like toxin internally released for so long and like nothing was actually releasing.
Yes.
I mean, I just can't, it really made me mad, to be honest, that I had so many practitioners I worked with like for my health where they never were like, you have to do this too. Like you need to go see someone who can help this. And I felt like I had wasted so much money, I mean, it's such it's crazy. And I'm one of those people that just has a sluggish system and I'm sticky for sure.
I do too, genetically.
Yeah. So I guess one is like, what causes that? Are some people just more genetically predisposed?
Yes.
But then also in our everyday lives, like what are the things that are making it more clogged?
What do you think the number one thing is?
Well, I'm going to say, I mean, in my head, I think about hydration and I think about like the lymphatic system. We have to actually work. Like it doesn't pump itself.
Correct. It's not like our heart. It has no pump. Well, the number one thing that will make your lymphatic system and your fascia system sticky is not breathing well. Our breath is our lungs is our fastest detox pathway. Our lymphatic is our largest, but our lungs is our fastest. And so if we start shallow breathing, and it could be like, fear, it could be excitement, right? It could be even unconscious, where like you watched your parents shallow breathe. So that person tends to have more of a sluggish lymphatic system and poor detox pathways.
Wow.
And then you think about when you're developing, the first part of your body that's developed is called the zygote.
Mm-hmm.
That zygote is fascia. So that's all your sensories in there. And that's why you start getting the building blocks, right? Because it's got the nerves to communicate to how your body should be built. And if that is stressed as you're in vitro, because you're hearing your parents argue and you're picking up that energetic field, and then you come out and maybe you had or you came out and had a tough childbirth. What does that do? Affects all your sensory nerves, clamps down on the fascia. So then that could have been all the way from childbirth.
Wow.
Then if your mother had a lot of yeast issues, which tends to happen a lot during hormonal fluxes, pregnancy, and they're coming through that birthing canal, and or they didn't come through the birthing canal and they got pulled out from the stomach, then they didn't get bathed in all of the other things that can help their body fight off parasites and fungus and yeast and all of those mycotoxins naturally. So then the body's detox pathways are going to be more challenged. That's just thinking just that now, right? I mean, that's most of the world.
Yeah.
But then you go into like, okay, a lot of people don't drink water. And when they do drink water, they're drinking water that's missing the negative charge that makes it bioavailable to the cells. So here we're bringing in all this hydration, but it's depleted in what it needs to be in order to get to our cells and hydrate all of our tissue so that our tissue can move. And then the more our tissue moves, the more it naturally hydrates itself. Okay? So then if we sit, then our body gets more stagnant. So say you have a career, or say you broke 2 of your knees at one time and you're bedridden for a few months, then your body is going to be in a natural, more stickier state. So then if you didn't know to come out and counterbalance that, because you didn't know that, which that happens a lot. People get sick with the flus, they break their toe. You know, in the United States, we're taught to not touch our body when we get hurt. If you go to anywhere in Asia, they're like, oh, we need blood supply. We need to bring blood supply. That's how we get things moving, which is your fascia and your lymphatic system that accelerates your healing process or facilitates your healing process. So stagnation, right? Immobility, lack of movement can also be that. Then we think about as the years that we're developing, our cells are getting healthier or not. It's trying to as it's developing. Through the age of like 8, right? It's fighting every moment to create the most healthy individual ever. But if you were fed crap food as your body is developing, you know, as your mom's like, oh, I don't want you to scream. Here, have these hot tamales with the highest food coloring on the market, or red vines, right? Or peanut butter crackers, you know, so you're not even talking about the sugar in there, but then the food coloring in there, which our body has no idea what to do with besides spasm, shut down, get inflamed, right? But there's so many things like that. You know, we've got a crazy world. It goes so fast and people are busy. They're trying to do their best. Some of them don't know what the best even should be or even know what good should be. So all of those components. But the number one is that breath.
Okay, so how do people learn to breathe correctly?
That's a very good question. If you focus on expanding, almost like your back out, think of your back of having wings. Instead of trying to think about diaphragm and belly, try to think about your back and your wings, your lungs filling up in the back where they hardly get any room to breathe, you know, that's where all the stagnation sits. Then that's kind of one way. But it's also bringing the attention to it, having to think about it. You know, one other part I didn't mention, but we'll get back to posture. But if we think about breathing more often, then we'll naturally get better at doing it.
Yeah.
But we just want to not think about it, right? We've got enough things to think about and check off every day.
Mm-hmm.
But it is worth it. It is worth it.
For sure.
You know, we won't go out of the house with our gray hairs showing. I wouldn't, right? But why don't I slow down enough to think about how important that breath is for me and giving that self-love to myself, right? Huge. Okay. Biomechanics affecting the lymphatic system and the fascial system. Misuse and overuse. So I was sharing with you earlier, I just did a wellness event of 250 women. And when people walk up to me, and I always ask them, so where would you like to see the most change? When I was doing fascia facelift, which is working the fascia system from here to here in quick little demos, I'm trying to make as much impact in a very short window of time. So all of these women fall in love with me and they come to me.
Yeah.
And you know, so I'm looking at them as they're telling me, oh, I don't like this. I'm thinking, well, that's not really the problem. Do you want me to work what you want to work, or do you want me to work what I think I should work?
Yeah.
Right? Because I can work what you want to work, but if I work with what I think I should work on you, you're going to get what you want anyhow. Mm-hmm. Because I have the ability to understand how the biomechanics of someone, posture of someone, is going to affect their aging process in the fascia and the lymphatic detox pathway, right? And so the idea is, if, for an example, if you've got a forward-leaning head, your fascia is going to build thick up here and you get that dowager's hump. Mm-hmm. But what ends up showing you is an indication that's happening if you never even see the back of their head. The lymph system gets congested here and they start getting a double chin where it's almost connecting their ear to their neck, and they start getting that double chin. And they always go, oh, no, that's genetic. My mother has it. I go, how did you learn how to sit and stand and walk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By imitating your mother.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's dowager's hump. There is no genetics there, my friend.
Yeah.
But the fascia connective tissue system thickens and dehydrates when it has to stabilize a system that you're not using right. So if you've got a forward-headed head, it's going to build thick all down your back, all down that back line, all the way to the planter of your foot. And then all of that's overextended and has to get thicker to hold you in place because you don't have your head in the right spot. Mm-hmm. And then all of this gets shortened and it starts to crinkly and dehydrated and crepey and unappealing, right? And, you know, I mean, how I can look at someone and I can tell whether or not they hyperextend their knee. I can tell if they don't use their big toes when they walk.
I bet you can.
And that is so fun for me.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, no, I just want this cellulite smoothed out. I go, oh, well, I can do my magic here on the table, or I can teach you virtually how to do it on yourself. Mm-hmm. However, if you go back out there and you're still hyperextending your knees, that's bone on bone. Yeah. This is going to get atrophied. This is going to get atrophied. Mm-hmm. And your whole thoracic spine is out of alignment. Mm-hmm. You cannot hyperextend your knees and not take the longest, most mobile part of your spine and get it out of alignment. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so you're going to go out there off my table and you're going to I'm going to give you 2 steps forward. You're going to go and do 2 steps back. Mm-hmm. You have to think about how you're sitting. As a matter of fact, I know that we're both sitting with our legs crossed because it's pretty to do online. But beyond that, it's going to be best. This is how I would tell you to sit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is usually how I sit, but on the podcast,
I do that. I always say, save the crossing of the legs and the nice shoes for camera or your date.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And, you know, I always try to wear sensible shoes. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm going to be shortening and overextending. I'm going to be shortening my back line and overextending my front line of fascia. Continuous web. And got to remember, if there's a knot here, it's affecting the whole internal web.
Yeah.
That's tugging on organs. Then you think about C-sections, right? You think we've cut into that all of those vital organs for
Yeah.
another pregnancy, for bowel movements, for everything. It's like, but it's tugging directly in that area, which that area is the most strongest blood supply area of our whole entire body.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people are having like endometriosis or, fibroids or, having trouble getting pregnant again. I'm like, I always ask, do they have C-section scars? Right? Let's get that moving. Let's try to work that scar line.
Yeah.
And that's what cellulite is. Cellulite is a scar.
Mm-hmm.
It is just adhesions in your fascia, just like that C-section line is.
Yeah.
And so if people go, oh, it's so unsightly, but yes, but it's inhibiting the internal movement of every organ, tissue, ligament, nerve communication, mitochondria energy. So I realized it looks like a cellulite dent, and I don't want you to have to rock that cellulite dent. I'm going to take care of that for you. But that is nothing compared to what it's doing. Right?
Internally, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, to be honest, it's a little overwhelming, I mean,
Fascinating.
for me, it is, So I want to get into solutions. I mean, like, it leaves you with a lot to think about because like pretty much everything's implicated, right?
Yes.
And even I know after we talked, I was like, I realized a big problem because I was thinking about, I'm like, okay, I'm standing wrong, like everything's off, and all the things I do every day that like add to that, and how much, I mean, at the time. I was like, I was lifting weights and I felt like it was making it so much worse.
It can be.
It's making it so much worse, and
do you know why that is?
Well, I assume it's like I already have a bad like a bad pattern, and then it's like it's just ingraining that heavier and heavier, and it was making it so bad, and then I switched to Pilates and it got better, but it was still bad. And if I go more of like the yoga route, it's like way better, but it's so obvious to me. I'm sure that I'm not the only person that's like that. Like
so if we think about that, not only is the pathways repatterned in a wrong way based on your biomechanics, also what did it shut down?
I don't know.
When your fascia is repatterned the wrong way, we just talked about it. Your lymph detox pathway shut down. So then you're going in, and what happens when we work out? We release toxins. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And then that clogged up the clog that was already there.
Oh.
It's like,
wow.
The body doesn't have a way to get that out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes. And so then also when they talk about hot and cold therapy, helping with inflammation. But if you've got a huge clog in the wheel, you might not be able to do like a cold plunge.
Yeah.
It might put your vagus nerve and your central nervous system in overdrive. You might have to start by putting cold cloths on your belly. They call that constitutional therapy. It's for the people that have too much already going on with the body, that they have to do things lovingly, slower, softer.
Yeah.
Right? So then they do hot, cold little towels on their body. Hot on there, that's it. Put cold on there, but not shock the shit out of their body.
Yeah.
By going and doing these huge cold plunges, right? That's good for a healthy person, hormonally balanced person with their mitochondria energy in place.
Yeah.
But if we're adding more toxins and more inflammation to a system that already cannot move what's there, it is just going to make you firmer, more inflamed. And that's how you were when you came in. It was just so inflamed.
So sticky. So sticky. I imagine also there are probably dietary components. Like if people or I don't know if I'm wrong. I would imagine things like sugar and alcohol and like way too much caffeine would also make you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything that will dehydrate you or anything that would be a pro-inflammatory for you. And some things of those are obvious. Like wheat in the United States because it's all processed.
Yeah.
If you have methylation issues and you're not on methylation vitamins and then you're taking in wheat type products because they all have an unmethylated folate in them for processing, right? Or you think, or like say it's healthy for you, but not for me. And I'm bringing in all these sweet potatoes, which are great for women. right? I mean, isn't a purple sweet potato, can't remember if it's purple sweet potato or kiwi, is the number one cancer fighting food that we
Really?
have. Yeah, and I can't remember all of the details,
Yeah.
but it was just amazing of all of the systems that it helped.
Wow.
However, if I was going to go eat a purple sweet potato,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I would feel like crap.
Mm.
I can smell a sweet potato and I feel my insulin releasing and I feel my inflammation starting.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's what's a medicine for one can be toxic for another.
For sure.
And could you imagine? We're informed. We've both had to look at our own bodies and be investigators for ourselves. We both live in a community where we've got more information to us.
I know.
Here,
we have too much.
yes,
I think.
but
Yeah.
then think about these people that are
Yeah.
like Arkansas and Oklahoma. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And like they think, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
It can be very overwhelming. So may I branch into that a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I want to get into like what are things people can do? Like, I would love to break down some helpful things.
Yeah, easy things to do at home.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of skin brushing.
Okay.
I tend to use the one with the copper in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
more electrical charge, right? More communication.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like links to all of your favorite?
Yes, on my shop page
okay.
of my website.
Okay, cool. We'll link to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then movement. So keep yourself moving,
Mm-hmm.
getting up and stretching every 15 minutes. Not avoiding when your body is feeling painful, not challenging it, but bringing supply to blood supply to that area. Also, getting your breath under control, drinking proper water, the best water you can get, which is minerals. Spring is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drink tap water. Don't drink, distilled water.
Mm-hmm.
How
much water should we be drinking?
I always say half your body weight in ounces of water. Now, going back to we were talking earlier that certain bodies spit minerals.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I need more than that.
Then, well, I'm also an O blood type. What's your blood type?
Oh.
Okay. So that's another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So I always try to get their blood type because
Yeah.
then I compare it to the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I also try to look at how meridians might be affecting the fascia,
Yeah.
right? Which is another.
Does the blood type diet overlap with like what comes up
It
in
doesn't
DNA?
overlap. It can,
It
but we're
sometimes,
such
but not always.
we have such
Okay.
mutt.
Yeah.
We're so many mutts anymore
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't always stand,
Okay.
right? But then you think about like also like the fascia system with the meridians.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've
Yeah.
got to.
Well,
That's my next
It's
discovery.
so interesting because I mean, my understanding of what you do and like how you talk about things, I'm like, I feel like the way that you are with the body and like the systems in the body is like how I work with energy.
Yeah.
Like it's like that very like very sciencey, like,
Mhm.
because I'm the same way where you're like, you could just look at somebody and you're like, oh, it's down here, over here. It's because
Yeah.
you stand like this. And I'm the same way with like energy. I'm like, oh, you think it's an issue with your marketing, but it's actually an issue of like in your back of what you're carrying with your data because I'm following the track of like your magnetism, like
I love it.
and so I love that. I think there's so much like overlap. I mean, it's a whole
Yes.
system working together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so think about what else. So bringing in good water. And then movement, skin brushing.
Well, can I slow you down?
Oh.
So skin brushing.
Yes.
People say different things. Before shower, after shower, timing matter. Like
Just brush.
just brush. How long?
When it works for you in the day, if it works
Okay.
for you in the morning, do it in the
Mhm.
morning.
Just whenever.
Anywhere that you can be more consistent
Mm-hmm.
and create a little routine,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do it more.
Do you have a video up of what
So
to
don't,
do?
yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
And then you don't get worried about perfection
Mm-hmm.
because even the best biohackers in this world are not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And coming up with systems that that are repeatable for you
Mm-hmm.
is everything.
Yeah.
You could do everything at a 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing 16, out of 10, you're going to get some good magnitude.
Yeah. So the brushing, right? But then, like, do you recommend adding a layer, like using a tool?
I like this copper lined skin brush.
Okay, the copper line.
Copper line. Okay. That's my favorite.
Okay.
And I think skin brushing is underrated.
Okay.
Okay. It came out so big and then we kind of poo-pooed it. One good person is Gwyneth Paltrow keep that thing on the map. And I'm like, amen, girl.
Yeah.
Because she's has such a power of influence.
Yeah.
So the idea is that if you can skin brush even 3 minutes a day, it's going to help you. And if you could hit your 6 major lymphatic ducts by tapping them 10 times before you start, you're going to help your body tenfold. And those 6 points are right at the clavicle. I even have a video on it, YouTube. 2 inches in from the soft spot underneath your ear, underneath your underarms, right about 2 inches above the belly, right at your hip flexors, and right behind your knees. And literally tap.
Okay.
10 times. All those areas, and then you skin brush. And they say, oh, don't do circles. Oh, go up to the heart. Oh, you can't go down. Listen, if you're doing enough circulation, you've hit those points and you're trying to work up, it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, I forgot the back of my leg. Go back to the under the back of your leg.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's
you're going to
reassuring
focus
for
on
people.
pumping up to the heart. And how you do it, how many minutes, it doesn't really matter. If you get 30 seconds in the day, rock it.
Yeah.
You know, I do mine in bed.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like before bed? Or in the morning?
I do it in the morning.
Oh, nice. What should the pressure be like?
Well, so think about this. If you have got a lot of inflammation that has pushed against nerves for a very long time, those nerves eventually will get deadened. And so they won't have as much sensation around them. If that's the case, you can push, like say on a level of 1 to like 10, the hardest you could, maybe like a 4.
Okay.
Maybe a 5. Now, if you're in the middle where your nerves are really reactive, that feels like you've got acid poured on you when you touch yourself because they're not quite deadened, but they're being choked out and they're irritated.
I have a lot of that.
Okay. Then you want to go softer.
Yeah, I have a lot of that.
Because we don't want to alarm the body. It's like going to the constitutional therapy, not doing the cold shocking. It's softer.
Yeah.
Right?
I have that in certain areas, like right here on my arm. I have that right there. And I used to have it on my stomach, but not anymore. And like sometimes like right here, those areas, it'll be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of see it from the underarms. But you think about it, our underarms, there's 2 spots that we've got unusual skin. That's not like the skin rest on our body. And that's the back of our arms and our inner thighs. And that's only on women. And if you see that and you pay attention, it's like more of a spongier tissue and more crepier looking. It doesn't have a lot of muscle back there like men get. And so that also can pull more fluid in those areas. And so that's also why that nerve can feel that way.
Okay.
They're getting the pressure on it from the nerves.
Okay.
I mean, from the fluid.
If you're dry brushing, should you also do, you know, like at home massage too? Like, or does the dry brushing cover it? If we're wanting to.
Oh, girl, what covers what, right? I mean, I would say I want you to do skin brushing and fascia work.
Okay. So what would the at home fascia work be?
Taking and using a fascia tool on yourself.
Like your little blaster thing?
Yeah, you could do it in the shower, all soaked up. The thing is that fascia is more obedient if it's warmed.
Okay. Yeah.
And so otherwise you're pushing up against something, right? But if it's soft and pliable, you can maneuver and manipulate it. So you get 10 times more bang for your buck if you've heated yourself. And there's different ways to heat yourself. You could do it in the shower. Many people do their fascia work in the shower. It doesn't work for me. I like to be seated down. I like to be more hot. And, you know, so I like a little bit more comfort. I'm going to go in and I'm going to use it as exercise. I'm going to do a deep layer by layer work. But you can use a moist heating pad to heat yourself, which is much better than a regular heating pad. It can fold around you. It's got a penetration of heat that is so so different than a regular heating pad.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could do infrared sauna, you could do a steam, you could do your jacuzzi. There's so many ways. You could go out and run around your block. You could go do stairs and then come back and do it. The more warm you are, the more obedient and more receptive your fascia fibers are going to be to what you're trying to direct it. And you could sit there and you could separate things off so it's more easy for you in the day. Like, oh, every day I'm going to do, on Mondays, I'm going to do the bottom of my legs. On Tuesdays, I'm going to do my middle legs. Well, on Wednesdays, I'm going to do my trunk. On Thursdays, I'm going to do here, right? On Fridays and Saturdays, I'm going to do scalp and face and work your body around. Or you can go, oh, I'm going to carve off 40 minutes and I'm going to use this as exercise. And I am going to do every ounce of my body. No, I wouldn't say that's where you should start because it's laborious. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And so you have to build up some muscle strength to that. You're gripping tools, you're moving around. You've got to get your mobility around. Like, how can I access those areas easy and play with your body and your mobility? Because your mobility is going to be very different from mine.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more agility in my body besides my shoulders because I'm leaning over all the time, right? So I'm constantly having to do more work on my shoulders to keep that joint rotating well. But we all have our things.
So you recommend like breaking the body apart and then doing a little bit each day?
I recommend doing what is repeatable.
Okay.
So a lot of people find it's easier to separate things off and do it in the shower because they're already in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to use oil on your body with the tool. And I don't prefer it that way. I would rather carve out. I've got my exercise time, and I just use those Tuesday, Thursday mornings to do that, as opposed to the other days where I go and I do hot yoga. But I already have that hour window already set aside for my own personal care for that.
So if people want to learn how to do that on themselves, do you also have video?
I've got a whole online course you can follow.
Okay.
I've got virtual options.
Yeah.
I have had clients that started virtually with me and then ended up flying and coming on my table from Athens, Greece.
Wow.
From 2 areas in Australia, Costa Rica, Canada, 2 sisters from Chicago, a MD from Chicago, her sister from New Mexico.
Love that.
And I did virtuals with them all.
Yeah.
Right? And they love it. They come back and they'll do another virtual and they're like, oh gosh, I'm improving so much. I want you to assess me again, right?
Yeah.
And they get so excited. And it's so easy to do with Zoom anymore.
Yeah, I know there's a lot you can do with Zoom. Okay, so we'll link to that stuff too. Okay. And then the other piece you brought up was like movement. So do you mean like rebounding?
Stretching.
Okay.
Walking.
Except
we're sitting here. We're going to be here for an hour.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know.
So we got to get up.
Yeah. Are you a fan of rebounding and like vibration plate?
I love vibration plate. I love rebounding.
Okay.
I love even if you don't have any of that and you can't afford that, you just do toe tapping.
Okay.
Hang on to a little countertop and tap your toes. Get your heel to come down. Go back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything vibration.
Okay.
Vibration moves every single cell in our whole entire body. That is even listening to vibration. Sound. Moving that energetic field.
100%.
100%.
How long for the vibration plate would you recommend if someone's doing it like every day? I would, depending on your weight and the health of your joints. Yeah. If you've got a healthy weight, meaning no more than 50 pounds overweight and healthy knees, then I would say that you could do that 2 times a day, 10 minutes. Okay, nice.
And then if you've got unhealthy joints, I would start with around 30 seconds to 2 minutes because knees are the most unforgiving. Yeah. And that you've got to, make sure that you're getting that unwinding because whatever you've been doing that's not working, it's got all those adhesions in there. It's got to slowly but surely break that up. Yeah. And then, yes, rebounding, which is the mini trampoline work. Some people don't know what rebounding is. All of that, you still got to be careful. If you've got overweight and bad knees, You've got to get the ones with the best springs on those babies, where they say they can handle someone for 300 pounds. And you don't chintz out on the one you buy.
Yeah.
And you do that once again, 3 minutes or 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And then if you've got healthy knees, then you've got a little bit more, liberty to choose. But still, you don't want to do more than 10 minutes at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often do you have clients come to see you?
Monday through Friday.
I mean, like, if some, like, should
the
people come, like,
frequency?
weekly, monthly?
That is so hard to say.
Yeah.
So remember how we were talking about assessing their posture and how that affects what happens after I make my magic on the table, right? They go out and then they're standing, leaning over, they're crossing their legs, they're walking with their leg out to the side, coming off their toes, not using their big toe, which is the number one most important thing for balance and aging well, is the health and the strength of your big toe. Okay? Hope everyone listen to that. Okay? So the idea is, if you already have poor detox pathways and then your biomechanics are terrible, you need to come more often. If you've got loose connective tissue, we've got to go in, do the work, the fascia restoration, and give your body longer time to heal. So it really is a personalized system. If you've got loose connective tissue, same thing with exercise. You got to go in, you got to lift heavy, and then you've got to let it heal a lot more than like someone myself or like you that doesn't have loose connective tissue. However, you and I both have poor detox genetic pathways, and we tend to get that inflammation. That inflammation needs to be reminded over and over and over and over again to create new pathways and move that stuff out. That person needs to see me more often. So you see the factors that affect it. So generally speaking, I always say, if I don't know you, try to come on my table at least 5 weeks in a row. And if you can give me those 5 weeks, and then we can see where we could space it out. But in those 5 weeks, I can give your body a fighting chance. And I can keep hammering you about your posture. And what happens when people come in and even do the Zoom, I start with posture. And then I send them a video teaching them how to stand right based on how they were standing. Not, oh, look at Tamara stand right. No. You normally do this with your knee. Do this with your knee now, right? This normally is how you do it. This is what you need to do now. And then I ask people, when I got them standing in the correct form, where do they feel the most tight in their body when they're standing correctly, which is the pathway that their body has created to supply stability to it because they weren't using it right. We need to unwind that area. So I always say, every time you're standing right, that's the pain you're going to feel. Might not even be a pain, but it might feel tightness, tightness up the perennials, or like a strain over the top of your feet. You know how many people stand at the front of their feet? 60% of your weight should be in your heels. So many people, because they've been taught to stick out their butt so that the booty looks more juicy and delicious. And so now, if you look at them from the side, they've got this whole curve session going, right? And they're on the forefront of their feet. And then their feet start feeling like they've got fat when it's just a stuck inflammation because they're not using the most important component that hits, everything vibrates from up there, right? Yeah, or not if it's stuck, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Wow. Okay, so dry brushing.
Yes.
Working your fascia.
Vibration plate. Breath. Hydration. And hydration can come also from like fruits and vegetables that are well hydrated, cucumbers, celery. You could also do like a lot of soups, right? With bone broth as your base, right? A lot of roasted vegetables, getting more ways of bringing in hydration with minerals.
Any other big one things?
movement. Just after you've sat for a few minutes, get up and move.
Yeah.
You know how people always go, oh, my back hurts. Oh, I've been up for a few minutes. It feels better. It's because it got the lymphatic fluid.
Yeah.
And then the fluids in our joints moving. And then the fascia, like I said, as soon as it starts gliding on each other, it communicates to each other to start releasing more hyaluronic acid to further the glide more.
Oh my gosh.
I know, but we're taught in the United States, oh, you don't feel good, sit, rest. No, of course you shouldn't go out and climb a mountain. Right?
Yeah.
Or do a boxing session.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, movement
Yeah.
helps our body heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back to that vibration, right?
Yeah.
The energy of that.
100%.
And moving that through.
Oh, okay. There's so much. I love this. People are kind of so many questions, but I know
I hope so.
you have so many good resources on all your social media. We'll link and people can come see you. You have 2 locations, right? So we can link out to that. And then virtually, how can people work with you? Like you do the DNA stuff.
I do the DNA
everything.
all virtually anyhow.
Okay.
Even my neighbor I did virtual.
Yeah. But you can work with people to help them with their fascia and all
their fascia, their lymph system.
Okay,
absolutely virtually.
Okay, cool.
Yes. And I've got, if you went and read my Google reviews, I've got a tremendous amount of Google reviews talking about the virtual even.
Yeah.
And I was astonished that I could be so impactful over virtual.
It's amazing.
I was.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, I am making a change in them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
I know. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, I've been lucky. My career, I started out with a juice bar. And then I opened a second juice bar. And then I opened an organic meal delivery service. And then I started working with physicians, bringing them, catering their events, wellness, holidays, doing all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you guys are toxifying their bodies.
Yeah.
And then I learned about lymph for myself. I'm like, oh my God, you got to help these people that are getting the surgery and all that anesthesia and you want them to heal. And so then, I started in that realm more. And then I got learned about fascia and I got into that more. I was doing DNA nutrition for pre and post surgery care.
Yeah.
All of that. It's like absolutely so much fun. But hold on, I lost my train of thought. Do you remember when I started?
That you were lucky in your career. You started virtually.
People
yeah.
come back. My people go, oh, my daughter now is going through puberty. Can you help her? Love it. They come back and they go, okay, I'm done with my last child. I need help now. Or I'm going through menopause now. I have been blessed with that whether it's a virtual client or anything, they come back.
Yeah.
When something else is going on that they can't understand, they come back. I mean, that's a huge testament. And that is so rewarding in my career.
Yeah. Well, when something works and it makes that big of a difference on your body, like it really is connected to everything else. So
yeah. And then like people go, oh, I had a nutritionist tell me I should eat that. And I'm like, okay, well, has she ever had a weight problem?
Yeah.
Did she ever have, insulin issues, mad cravings, right? She raised on healthy food. And I always think that that's also another thing that like, I didn't like that I was fat. I didn't like that I had cellulite. I didn't like that I had a stagnant lymph and I didn't know what that was even there, just stagnation. But it's all given me much more empathy for each person that I work with. And I know what they're going through. And that gives you so much more impact on them as opposed to theory.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. Amen to that. Because I'm like very sick of all the wellness people who have never actually gone through anything or like they've never actually worked with anybody and they just like read science or they just read things. I'm like, it's just not the same as actually working with people and getting that level of information and like really understanding through living. Like everybody is different and you have to be able to like really identify all those different things, So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been amazing. There's so much
Thank
in here.
you.
We'll put all of your links so that people can connect with you
Fabulous.
and check out your virtual offerings. And you have so many amazing videos. And we need to do my DNA, and you can come back and spill the tea.
Okay. I love it.
Love it. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Thank you.